Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Untitled Hoops podcast. We're a little bit late this week. That is because on the day that we usually record, there was an actual game going on. So, if you don't know already, if you're the first time here, welcome. Hey, how are you? Grab a snack. Make sure to like and
Also,
subscribe. You're going to be
well,
here for a while.
Sean, I don't want to cut you off, but like subscribe to the channel. We've been
Go
getting
ahead.
a lot of engagement, like a lot of engagement.
Yes.
Our last couple videos, I think they both hit like more than what we typically get. So there's a lot of people watching us more. Subscribe, stay tuned to
Yep.
us. Sorry, Sean. Go back to what you were doing.
Yep. Make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and hit the notification bell so you are notified when we upload. If you're on YouTube, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcast or Google Podcast, if you're the two people that use Google Podcast, hey, welcome. Make sure to follow us. Make sure to add us to your favorites. No disrespect to Google Podcasts. I'm sure they have more than two listeners, maybe six. But anywho, this is the podcast where we talk about basketball, mainly the NBA, mainly the 76ers. However, we are in the middle of the playoffs right now, so we have a lot to cover. Some stuff, most stuff, playoff related, but then also some stuff not so playoff related. Because to start us off, Marquise, did you know that over the past couple of days, the Toronto Raptors, Masai Ujiri, brought in a potential head coaching candidate to fill the role that was vacated by Nick Nurse, JJ Redick.
Yeah, I did know that. JJ talked about it in like one of his clips of his in his podcast of his YouTube channel on the Old Man of Theory. He talked about it briefly. Um, Toronto Raptors have brought in 13 candidates, the
Mm-hmm.
most in and the most that we have known of for a head coach job. Normally, the guy with the people they interview is probably like five candidates, and normally one of those
Yeah.
candidates normally get the job kind of quick because they're a young team and they're trying to get the
Mm-hmm.
coach in so they can know what moves to make because they have a lot of decisions to make. The Toronto Raptors. Becky
Right.
Hammond was one. I think one of their like three of their assistants. They interviewed. So yeah. I did know that. And it's they have a lot of people to choose from, and I don't understand why. Because I think it's like four coaching jobs that are up for grabs. Why more don't consider Becky Hammond because she has won at every level.
Yeah, there were a few. Some of them have been filled. Obviously, the Rockets have picked up Ime Udoka. Uh, I believe the Bucks are still vacant. The Toronto Raptors. Uh, man, there's a few.
And
I
also,
think.
um, my fault. JJ Redick is a surprise
No, go ahead.
because he's not a person like you think of when you think of coaches, but then again, you have that Steve Kerr effect, where like a role player,
Yeah,
you know what I mean, a
yeah,
shooter, a guy who's really assigned to one thing, can become one of the best
yeah.
coaches because he knows the aspects of the game a little bit deeper. Um, Not necessarily the point guard, but
Well,
yeah, definitely surprised me.
yeah. Well, here's the thing that surprised me about it, and I think you use Steve Kerr as an example, and I think that's a great example. Steve Kerr at least had some
Championships.
coaching experience. Like he was an assistant coach.
Yeah.
Um, Also, Steve Kerr was like off for a while, where he kind of didn't do anything
But no,
like basketball related.
he was the GM of the Suns.
For I mean, like immediately after his retirement
When did he
from
retire? Like
playing,
2003 or something like that.
I think so. But either way, I mean, obviously times were different then. But JJ's still been like relative. He's been relevant. He's been obviously doing his podcast. He's been involved in the media for pretty much the entire time that he's been in retirement. Um, there's never really been, at least as far as I know, much like interest from him as far as becoming any type of coach, whether it's an assistant coach or head coach or whatever, even at the college level, or like you would think that JJ might be a great opportunity, great candidate for the Duke head coaching job. Obviously, the guy that they chose, another former Duke player, national championship winner, like he's a great choice. But you would think that if JJ had any interest in coaching, he would at least put his name in that hat first before interviewing for an NBA coaching position. Now, with that being said, obviously everybody who knows JJ who played with him have all stated that he will be a great coach. Knows the game in and out. obviously was a player, NBA player for 15 years. He knows the business. He knows the league. He knows a lot of the players that are still playing, the GMs, the coaches. A lot of connections still, but also just extremely experienced in like the NBA lifestyle or whatever. Was a great veteran for multiple teams. Knows how to relate to younger players. Obviously knows how to relate to veterans as well. So I do think JJ would be a great head coach for any team. It just sucks because I would have wanted him to be an assistant for the Sixers first.
Hmm. He did have
Obviously, having played under Doc Rivers as well, I think that would have worked pretty
he
well.
he did have a job coaching opportunity straight out of retirement. The Celtics wanted him to come upon and come on their team and be a coach out straight out of
Who the
retirement.
Steve Kerr or is
No,
JJ?
JJ Redick. They wanted him
Okay,
straight off of retirement to be one of their coaches. And a correction, Steve Kerr retired in 2003. He got the job as the Suns GM in 2007.
okay.
So about the same about a break that JJ Redick is getting right now, away from
Well,
the
yeah,
game
but
in
Steve, but Steve wasn't. Was he commentating? Like, was he doing anything basketball related during that time? Like, that's a 4 year span. Whereas, like,
I would
JJ's
I would
been
I would think so because you go from
okay,
being retired to being a GM. That's a pivotal role. So I feel like there's something in
right,
between. You know what I mean? There has to be
right.
something in between. So
Obviously, we were both pretty young during that time, so we don't really remember. But
100%.
you know, JJ has had his podcast. He's obviously still very much in touch with NBA players. He's had damn near every player in the league on his podcast at one point. He's still commentating. He's now working with ESPN. He's calling games courtside. Uh, so he's still very much involved in the league. So it's not a surprise that he would get that consideration. And like I said, pretty much everybody who knows JJ loves JJ.
And
Um,
what's his name from the TNT crew? Kenny. He fucking
yeah,
interviews for jobs every year. You know what I mean? I don't think he's really interested. He's just doing it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? You interested in me? I'll do it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So you know,
yeah.
I do
I,
think more teams. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, bro.
no, no, no. Go ahead. I was gonna say the same thing basically.
Yeah. I was literally going back to my Becky Hammond point that like she's literally won everywhere she's gone, and I feel
Hmm.
like if you're gonna make a move on her, you got to make it sooner than later.
Yeah,
And I feel like they want I think it was them who said they want a coach before the draft lottery
yeah,
or before it's either the draft lottery or the NBA draft. It's one of the two because they of course they need to think about the direction of their team. Um,
hmm,
and they want the coach to be in it. They don't want to have the coach come into a team that is already built for something. They want the coach to be involved in that. And also it has to be
yeah,
quicker if it is Becky Hammond because the WNBA season is right around the corner and you have to give the Aces time to find somebody else to replace
hmm.
her. Um, yeah, so it'd be very weird. Can you imagine if Becky Hammond coaches this entire season in WNBA and then goes to the NBA and then coaches the Raptors? That'd be fucking insane.
It
Um,
would be insane, but I think that would be one of the few cases where everybody involved would be very, very much happy for Becky Hammond.
100%, 100%. Like
Like even the Aces players, like you're making history.
for real. Like think about it. First time as a head coach, WNBA wins the championship. First
Hmm.
time. Now they kind of got a like a super team over there in Las Vegas. They got Candace
Yeah,
Parker, obviously Aja's back. You know what I mean? Why am I blanking on her name? Kelsey's still there.
Kelsey
Jackie
Plum.
Young, yeah.
Yep,
They got a squad, bro.
they do.
Obviously the Liberty also have a little squad, so that is there. I think that's gonna be like the fucking rivalry for like 4 or 5 years. That's gonna be the
Yeah.
WNBA finals. But to other news, um, we are in the Eastern Conference
Well, wait. Well,
Finals.
hold on a second. Wait a second, because you brought up something really, really. When you said super team, and obviously we were sort of on the subject of women's basketball, kind of. When you said super team, it reminded me of something. LSU,
Yeah,
uh, national championship winning women's basketball team. Uh, they're assembling a super team of their own,
yeah,
as if they didn't already just win a championship. But Haley. Van Leith. Is that how you pronounce your last
Van
name?
Leaf, yeah.
Van Leith. Is transferring to LSU. So next season, LSU will have Haley Van Leith, Flage, and uh, oh gosh, why can I not remember her name? I'm so terrible with names.
I know she's just a
Uh,
rapper.
Angel Reese.
Angel Reese, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So
And you know what
I mean, that's a super team.
you know what pisses me off about that the whole situation. Then we're gonna hop back into like the NBA. They are there like people going, oh, they got all these people just to beat Caitlin Clark. No, they got all these people just to do it
No.
again.
Yeah, exactly. They already beat Caitlin Clark.
They just doing it again. They just doing it
And not only
again.
that, but they really, I hate to say it, but I've said this on this podcast before. The NCAA tournament, whether it's in women's basketball or men's basketball, is always, it's historically been like the whoever wins is the team that has the best juniors and seniors.
100%.
It's the team that has the best veteran players. And unfortunately for Caitlin Clark, three of her seniors are gone. So that team has to, they've got some restructuring to do. So regardless of whether LSU got Haley or not, chances are, you know, Caitlin Clark, her team was probably not going to produce the same way it did last year. Either
Yeah.
way,
Because the only thing, like, two people from LSU left. I think it was like
right?
Alex Morris and like somebody else. But
Their point guard.
yeah, no, that was Alex Morris.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Yeah, she got drafted.
she got drafted and then like got drafted in the second round.
Congratulations to her, by the way.
Oh,
Yep.
she also got released.
What already?
Bro, she got drafted in the second round and got released. Like that's kind of crazy.
That's
Because
crazy.
there's only 13 picks in each draft in each round, and it's like, well, if you drafted somebody, you
Yeah.
kind of have to have a plan for them because like basically that's still a first round talent if you're going to NBA. But it's kind of crazy. But you know, it is what it is. You know, minors.
So, but the well, I guess damn, that sucks because she was actually drafted. Because remember, the NCAA made that rule where you can apply for the draft, but if you weren't picked, you can come back to college
Mm-hmm.
and play again. But she technically was drafted.
It's cool.
But did she sign?
I think she signed to a training camp deal, and then obviously you
Mm,
know it's right around the corner. The season starts.
yeah.
But
Damn.
let's go into the conference finals. Two teams. We already have a setup date for two teams there. We're waiting on the other half to be filled.
Yeah.
God. Um,
So, but hold on. But let's talk about these playoffs as a whole first, because these playoffs have been crazy. Like just the matchups, the first round matchups were crazy. I predicted there were no sweeps. There was only one, and it was ours.
hmm
And now the second round is looking even crazier because every single series has gone to at least 6 games.
This is the first year where the seventh and the eighth seed is in the conference finals.
Right.
This is crazy.
Like upsets galore.
If this
It's
postseason, if it could be trickled down to one word, it's fucking health.
yes.
Health, 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 bro. Take care of your fucking body because
Yeah.
this shit. I mean, it almost fucked us over. It almost fucked
Mhm.
us over. I mean, obviously, we're still up in the air. Um, job's not finished
Yeah.
yet, but like that, it could have literally fucked us over.
Yeah. If we don't win game 1, the series probably would have ended last at game 6.
I'm keeping it a buck with you. They could have swept us.
They could have swept us
They could have swept us. But let's not talk about that.
because
Like,
they went on a 2 game, they won 2 straight after we won game 1. So, if that still happens, we going down 3-0
yeah,
like
not happening. Not
ah.
happening. But let's
And then we only won game 4 because of Harden.
yeah,
So,
let's save that series for the end because that's
yeah.
the one that's still pending. The
Yep.
Miami Heat are going back to the Eastern Conference Finals after beating the
Yes.
Knicks in 6. I had the Knicks winning in 6. Keep. I just want people to keep track of my predictions after I list all of them. I had the
Yep.
Knicks winning in 6, and the Miami Heat have won in 6, and they're in the Eastern Conference Finals. Um, to start us off, I'll start us off with the whole thing. Knicks made a lot of costly mistakes, just like
Hmm.
a lot of costly mistakes. And in Game 5, they almost lost that shit just because they couldn't fucking pass the ball. They couldn't handle pressure right. It kind of looked like
Yeah,
how the Sixers looked in the last 2 minutes of that blowout, where like they could not get it across half court. That
yeah.
and obviously that game was like determined already, and it was scary. Can you imagine being down
Hmm.
four and that shit is happening? But yeah, the Knicks had a hell of a season. Um, what's next for the Knicks? You got to think Julius Randle is going. You got to, like, you got to, bro. Like, he kind of was the deciding factor of them not making it over. Jalen Brunson once again showed out and showed the Mavericks that he
It.
was worth every penny. And
Yeah,
RJ Barrett, maybe you package RJ Barrett and Julius Randle together and then try to go get something. You got a whole bunch of picks. They constantly have traded back in drafts, so they've acquired a lot of picks. Like so now, you put yourself in a situation where like you got Jalen Brunson, who is one of those guys who chills in the regular season but ups his ante, kind of like a Jamal Murray ups his ante. Like his true value is in the playoffs, and maybe you do that and you go get you a star. Stop trying to sign
yeah.
motherfuckers that don't want to be there, and give your hopes up. Go get somebody. You know what I mean? So, Sean, how do you feel about this? What the Knicks should do?
So I had Heat in 7, which was still wrong. uh, but the Heat won at least. But it's tough. Obviously, the idea of shipping off Julius Randle is, I think, everybody's go-to. But the problem is, you're really not probably going to get much for Julius Randle at this point. Um, Considering the money that he's making too. So it's sort of like a Tobias situation where you're really going to have to find somebody who's just willing to take on that contract, knowing you're not getting a superstar in return. Um, so for me, I feel like the best option for the Knicks is really to do more so what the Sixers did, which is try to go get a third guy to really be your second best player in between for the Sixers, obviously they went and got James Harden. They traded Ben Simmons, but we were a little bit lucky where at the time Ben Simmons' value was, I mean, it was in the basement, but it was still high enough for you to go and get a disgruntled superstar who wanted out. The Knicks don't really have that. They have RJ Barrett, which obviously is a good pick, like for a bunch of teams. I think a lot of teams would like a guy like RJ Barrett, but again, what are you getting in return? I think the Knicks are going to have to pull the trigger on a pretty big trade, one probably involving some draft picks, some future draft picks, and RJ Barrett, and probably Obi Toppin
I would.
for
I'm sorry. I don't want to cut you off, but like,
no, go ahead.
that's what I was saying. Like, have Julius Randle and RJ Barrett. Julius Randle, who you could convince the team was third All NBA. He just made it third All NBA, third team All NBA. RJ Barrett
Yeah,
might need a change of scenery. So you might be able to
yeah,
convince the team to take Julius Randle, to take RJ Barrett, and these picks, and give us a star that you probably don't see, you know, growing in your franchise, or you probably like Stephen A. said, getting Cat, which is seeable because Cat, I
yeah,
personally think is he needs to go because he has to. They have to somewhat get the value, and the draft SX back that they traded for Rudy Gobert. They got to get that back because obviously Anthony Edwards is the guy now, and
yeah.
so like maybe that I don't know if you trade Julius Randle and um RJ for Cat because I don't know if Cat's value is even that high
Well, and
anymore.
there's a fit issue because how does Cat fit next to Mitchell Robinson, or does Mitchell Robinson now have to come off the bench? Because you can't.
You can't play him at
There's
four no more.
he has different struggles at both positions. So when you have your other sort of young sort of franchise piece in Mitchell Robinson, now you have the question of like, okay, if we go get Cat, what do we do with him? We try and play him together, or do we end up moving Mitchell Robinson, or do we just put him on the bench? You know what I mean? So either way, you're running into some issues because if you trade Julius Randle and RJ Barrett for Cat, you're really kind of losing three starters because Julius and RJ go, but then you also have Cat and Embiid. You're sort of losing three starters for one.
And also, what I would say with the Knicks is two of your top 10 players in terms of contracts, you're not even playing. Derrick Rose is getting paid $15 million a year. I don't think he's touched the playoff floor except for that win game. And then Evan Fournier is getting paid $18 million a year. So like you got these contracts where like you're not using these guys. You're not using these
Yeah.
guys. Evan Fournier is a fucking Sixers killer. Every time I see him, I just get sad because like he just all of a sudden like you can play basketball again. Like it's crazy as fuck.
Yeah.
But like just in that like cap space, you could clear some shit there, and they're 39 million over,
Yeah.
and like get rid of a couple contracts. You might have to get a couple picks, or you might even like if in a big deal, you probably trading these guys just to get it off of them, and who knows what like a team would want just to take on their contracts. Derrick Rose I think is a free agent this year, but Evan Fournier has one more year. Um, and this shit is, for them it's very weird, because for once they are not going star crazy. Like they're not
Hmm.
like, oh, we want Kevin Durant, we want Kyrie Irving, we want this. They're they have been humbled in a way where they see that if you build your talent and like, you get a piece like Jalen Brunson who was not like a superstar. He's not a superstar, but like he comes in and he really gets everybody together, and he's really the point guard that you needed. And maybe like
Yeah.
you don't need the superstar, but you do need another star that is more consistent than a Julius Randle. And it's crazy to think because Julius Randle averaged 25 and 10, but just in the playoffs, there's no way. No, there's no way he's doing that shit. There's no way.
Yeah. The Knicks have a bright future, but the margin for error is very, very small. They could ascend to be one of the three away. Um, it could really go either. Those are kind of like the only two options.
Julius Randle averaged 25 and 10 in the regular season,
But
and
if
then
that's the case, you're pretty much just in the same spot forever.
yeah, he averaged 25 and 10 in the regular season, and then averaged 16 and 8 in the playoffs. You can't have that.
Yeah,
That is literally a
yeah,
10
no,
point
not from
difference.
your second best player.
That's damn near a 10-point difference in points.
Yeah,
You can't have that at all.
no, not if you're trying to win. Not if you're the second best player and you're trying to win a championship.
And then on the other side, the Miami Heat. This is weird to me because I think whoever comes out of our series, the Sixers Celtics, is going to whoop their ass. And it's crazy because
Whoop the Heat's ass.
I think so. Just because it's like the Knicks weren't ready. And you would think that the Knicks, the reason I picked the Knicks over the Heat was because the Knicks beat the team at full health that I had them not beating at all, and they did it
Yeah,
convincingly. That's why I picked the Knicks in the Miami Heat series because they had no Tyler Hero. Jimmy gave them everything, and I didn't know if he could do it anymore. So
yeah,
like it was logically thinking,
yeah.
even though I thought Jimmy, if Tyler Hero's there, I'm definitely picking the Heat to beat them. But like I just didn't know if Jimmy could do it again, and he did, and he definitely got some help from um I'm forgetting his name. He was unplayable, and then
Gabe, Gabe Vincent.
Vincent. No, that's not Robinson. Robinson couldn't.
Oh, Mitchell. Yeah, Duncan Robinson.
Duncan
Duncan Robinson.
Robinson
Yeah,
could not fucking play, and all of a sudden he's fucking
yeah,
Steph Curry. Like you know what I mean? Like shit like that.
yeah,
Um, that I did not account for because I didn't expect it at all. I just didn't. But like obviously with Tyler Hero out, Duncan Robinson gets more of an opportunity and a longer leash. And he showed his worth again. Uh,
yeah.
so like I didn't account for that at all. Go ahead.
It's weird because when the Heat did have their first finals run back in the bubble, Duncan Robinson was a huge part of that. But since then, they've acquired some other guys, and he's just moved further and further down in the rotation. But what we're seeing now is not necessarily new from Duncan Robinson. It's just it feels like it's coming out of nowhere because he was so unplayable for a while that now it's like,
Yeah,
is he
non-existent.
improving or is he getting back to how he was before?
Yeah, and I feel like I don't know if he's. I don't know if it's that. I just feel like opportunity. Like
Yeah,
if you, like he's on his contract, which just looks like a bad contract, and the Miami Heat are trying to trade it, and they can't find nobody who's going to take it because they don't have like a first round pick, or they're not trying to attach the second round picks, and they're like, all right, fuck it, we'll stay with it. And this opportunity come around, and he's really cashing in on Tyler Hero not being there. Um, yeah, but like I didn't expect this at all. Kyle Lowry has stepped up big. I didn't
yeah,
expect that. Like I didn't expect that. I thought it was going to be like the first round series where Jimmy. It was like just Jimmy. It was just Jimmy. And also factor in that
yeah.
Giannis was injured. That like okay, they gave them some leeway. Knicks bodied the fucking Cavs. I'm thinking okay, the Knicks are gonna go at Jimmy. They're going to make him tired. But no, the other members of the Miami Heat have stepped up, and I should have known better.
Yep.
Honestly, I should have known better from an Eric Spoelstra team that they were going to find guys and guys were going to step up in those times. So that's on me. That's on me. Bad prediction on me. Bad prediction on me.
This is gonna sound like a weird take, but in my opinion, the Miami Heat are like the evil Golden State Warriors.
The evil Golden State Warriors.
Like the way Golden State just finds guys that just fit
The evil.
the team, they fit the system, they fit the culture, like they just fit. Miami does the same thing, but with very different guys. Like Miami's like a team of all Draymonds, and it's
Just
like
all Draymond's. Yeah,
Miami. I'll
literally.
put it to you this way: Miami's like a team of all Draymonds with one Steph or one Jordan Poole, and that's Tyler Hero. And then Golden State is a team of all guys who are like moving shooters and like and there's one Draymond. So they're literally like the antithesis of the Golden State Warriors. They're even at almost opposite ends of the country.
Yeah,
Like
damn near.
they're kind of they're literally like the anti-Warriors. Even the jerseys, blue and yellow, white and like black and red, like like they're the opposite. It's
Um.
like you remember the Crimson Chin,
Yes.
and
Oh,
then he
and
has
the
like evil
Megaton.
version.
The Megaton.
Yeah, that's literally what they are. It's crazy. And then they both have like these amazing GMs and coaches who are just like great schematic like, coaches, but at the same time they're also guys who just know how to get the best out of their players. It's weird. It's weird.
Moving on to the West. The Denver Nuggets beat the Suns in
Yeah.
six. I had the Suns winning. I'm 0 for 2. I'm 0 for 2.
So I'm pretty sure I picked the Nuggets. Um and the reason why honestly was it kind of was the reason why it ended up going that way, which was just depth. Like the Suns have virtually nobody. With Chris Paul being out, like I said, you're leaning on your top three guys, and one of them kind of doesn't want to be there, and DeAndre Ayton. So it's like you're really leaning on Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. And don't get me wrong, those are two huge crutches. Like you can win a lot of games leaning on Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. But in the playoffs, when you're going against a two-time MVP, another guy and uh and Jamal Murray, who's also had playoff experience, had huge playoff games, 50 points in the bubble. Like, that's a tall order to deal with for Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, especially when neither one of them are really like above average defenders. So every point that they score, they're probably going to give up a point as well on the other end. So I didn't really see a world where Phoenix could get out of this series like as the victors, especially going up against the Nuggets, who are the number one team in the West. So, I, I hate to say I hate to say I predicted it because I didn't quite see it happening like this. But once Chris Paul went down, you kind of just knew like, all right, they just don't have the guys.
And well, what I was right about one thing in this series when the Nuggets went up 2-0, and I was like, Kevin Durant is going to reintroduce himself, and they did. They won the next two without Chris Paul. Cameron Payne was back. He came back from injury, and he was running the point, and they looked
Yeah.
to have some speed, and that really threw the Nuggets off because they're not the fastest team, and especially when your anchor defense is not a defensive player, and he's not a fast
Yeah.
player. He's not getting no chase down blocks. Like he's, you know what I mean. When
Hmm.
when that's not there, that adjustment is very crazy, and I just didn't account that the Nuggets would play defense. I think that's a lot of reason why I picked the Suns is because I just thought that obviously I didn't think it was going to be Suns were going to sweep them. I thought that the offense of Devin Booker and Kevin Durant together and the game management of Chris Paul and just getting something out of DeAndre Ayton. That's literally I was saying getting something out of him, like that would have been enough to just overpower them. Because offensively, I think they match up a lot. But like you said, the depth it came down to the depth and doing that Kevin Durant trade, trading away Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, and Jay Crowder, that hurt and it was evident was very evident in this
Yeah.
series. So yeah, the Nuggets are in the Western Conference Finals for I think the second time in 5 years, if I'm not. Because
Yes.
second time in 3 years, because they were in it in the
Well,
bubble,
yeah.
and they were
Yep.
they lost to the Phoenix Suns, right? No, they
Yep.
lost to
No, no,
the
no.
Lakers because
Yeah.
Lakers won the championship. So
Yep.
the Nuggets are in. And let's hop to the other side of the bracket, which was the Lakers versus Warriors. I had the Warriors in sixth. I'm 0-3. I'm 0-3 in the second round so far.
Yeah.
And the Lakers won in I think six as well.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? I think I had the
Every
Warriors.
series except ours went six.
I think I had the Warriors winning six, and they lost in
Yeah.
six. I had the Suns winning in
Yep.
six, and they lost in six. I had the
Yep.
fucking Heat winning in losing in six, and they won in six.
Yep.
Like you know what I mean? If I just
Yep.
would have switched it over, I would have been perfect. I would have been
If
perfect.
I would have just switched every single series,
Right?
I'd have got them all.
Would have
It's
perfect.
like,
And I feel like this
yeah.
is like God's way of saying shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Like, shut
Yeah.
up. like, um,
You're getting on my
he's
nerves.
like he was like fuck you. You're getting too many right. Here, fuck you up. Shut up.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Humble yourself. You
Yeah.
know what it was? You mentioned gambling. When we were at work, you're like, I should start putting money
I
down. And guy
definitely
was like,
did.
oh,
Hold on
oh,
now. Hold on
uh,
now.
uh. You trying to sin over there, buddy? No, buddy. You trying to
Gambling's a
gamble?
sin. The fuck? When did this
I
happen?
think it is.
In the New Testament?
Gambling, I'm pretty sure it is.
Okay.
Gambling, it was some other stuff too. Because gambling was like one of those things that like they did in like Sodom and Gomorrah. Yeah. Anyway, but yes, gambling is not typically good.
All right. The
That's why it's illegal in so many places.
we didn't well so going back to the Suns, I'm sorry, I probably moved on for them a little prematurely. What's next for them? I really don't think there's much that they should do other than
No,
get more players to fill out that bench. You got Kevin Durant,
and they will.
you got Kevin Durant, you got Devin Booker, you got CP3. That should be an easy sell
Yeah,
for a lot of free agents. And you
yeah.
got Kevin Durant for
Anybody who
multiple
wants
years.
you literally can just go and do the Warriors pitch of like, hey, you want a free ring? Just sign with
Basically,
us for 1 year.
basically get some shooters. Landry Shamet showed up big, former Sixers
Yeah,
draft pick. I hated seeing him go for Tobias, but Tobias is here. Tobias. Yeah, Tobias. I need Tobias to show up in Game 7. But
hmm
yeah, they got some people that did show their head. I think Terrence Ross had a good Game 3 when he finally got minutes.
yeah,
You forget Terrence Ross is on the Suns. Um, fucking is crazy.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I mean, for the most part, stick together. Maybe they entertain the idea of training Chris Paul, but that is one of the reasons Kevin Durant wanted to go there. That game
yeah,
manager, he's not into controversy. He's a point guard that doesn't have much controversy. He's at the end of his
Yeah,
career. He's not doing too much. He's just doing enough. So maybe you don't, just for the sake of just camaraderie. So
yeah.
moving on.
I wouldn't trade Chris Paul. I would literally all you literally have to do is just build, just add to what you got.
Yeah, that's it.
Which in the NBA is easy. Every year there's a whole flock of guys that you can just bring in. Like who knows? Maybe they can maybe they can take a Montrezl Harrell off our hands.
Yeah, you can have him.
Yeah,
I will drive him to Phoenix.
you you have to get a license first, but
I don't
okay.
need a license to drive, Sean. I've never needed a license to drive, and I don't need a license to drive now.
Okay, let's not incriminate yourself too much on the pod.
Okay, Lakers, Warriors. The Lakers win in six. What I'm gonna get. What the fuck am I saying? I'm trusting you with this question. What are you
Okay.
going to do as at the Warriors going into the off season? Is this
Ooh, that's tough.
is this the
That's
end?
tough. They definitely have a decision to make. Um, on the surface, to the casual observer, that decision might seem easy. Um, but it's not as easy as you might think. And the decision is what to do with Jordan Poole. Um, they tried to do what I thought would be a good idea, which was the sort of you have your big three, your veterans, you have Clay, Draymond, and Steph. You have now all these young guys who you got with all these draft picks when you traded away Kevin Durant and D'Angelo Russell. You had Jordan Poole, James Weissman, Jonathan Kaminga, Moses Moody, right? James Weissman is already gone. It was shown that he didn't have what it took up here to mesh with that Warriors culture, to do the dirty work, to be basically Kevon Looney, but just better.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he just it just wasn't in him. It just wasn't his game.
But
He's gone.
that's a tough ask for a 19-year-old
It
coming
is.
in
It is.
and go, hey, we don't need you to be a superstar. I know you're drafted number
Right.
two, but we don't want you to be that.
Right.
We just need you to
Right.
rebound, block shots, run the floor, set screens, and do dribble handoffs.
Right.
That's a
Right.
lot to ask for somebody who's getting when you're envisioning getting drafted, you're going to a terrible team where like you're going to get to have there's no leash on you. Go out there, learn, play,
Exactly.
fail, and then learn from your
Right.
failures, and then year two, bounce off of that, stuff like that. He didn't get that.
Right. So so the problem with having the three veterans who are great and who are still great, along with these young guys who have high expectations of themselves, is that you have to tell the young guys, okay, hold on, like we need you to wait, which is a tough ask, as you said. So now they've sort of realized that okay, Steph is still great. Klay Thompson is sort of still coming back into his own from the injuries. Draymond's still Draymond. His game isn't really one that's super, you know, uh, uh, reliant on athleticism or youth or anything like that. So Draymond's still Draymond. How long are we actually going to have these young guys waiting around,
Yeah.
right? So now you've already shipped one of them out because they just weren't waiting. They weren't doing what you needed them to do. They always wanted to do more. Um, Now you have Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole for a while was working out. He was the fit was fine, but he was coming off the bench. He was essentially replacing Steph. But now he's become a much bigger part of the offense, and it's gotten to the point where having Steph on the floor actually hurts Jordan Poole. There have been like plenty of people who've pulled up the stats. Jordan Poole is a completely different player when Steph is on the floor versus when he is not on the floor. So
Right.
now you have this question of like, okay, well, do we just keep him around if we can't play him next to Steph? Or do we capitalize off of the fact that he's young? He does have amazing scoring ability and he's not super injury prone. He's not like a Zion or, like one of those type of guys who can't get on the floor. Like he's almost always available. Do we capitalize off of that and trade him? But doing that, obviously you're sacrificing basically your entire future
Hmm.
because you've already lost Wiseman, you've already had to move on for him. Having to move on from Jordan Peele means like, okay, Jordan Poole, excuse me,
Jordan Peele.
means that now, right, having to move on from Jordan Poole means that okay, now the whole like keeping the young guys on hand for like our future, that's pretty much just off the table. You're just going to continue to ride with Steph and Clay and Draymond and just keep getting guys around them that work with them. But it's the NBA. That's not going to work forever. Like these guys eventually are going to start to slow down, and when that happens, you're going to wish you had guys like Jordan Poole and James Wiseman who could come in and just kind of have already all that experience with the team and with the system and just step right into that role. So
Yeah,
you have the decision to make of like, do we do what's best for the guys we have right now? Or do we hold on to these players, these assets, as essentially just an insurance policy for the inevitable future of Steph no longer being Steph?
yeah. Um, seeing Jordan Poole's struggles and seeing the money he got. Stephen A. brought this point up. How like arrogant he was,
Yeah,
skipping press game conferences, and there was a thing where like Draymond was trying to talk to him, and like he walks past Draymond, and Steph
of
Curry
course.
turned his ass around and was like, "Yo, no, go!" Like you know what I mean? Like like, what the fuck is you doing? He's trying to like help
Yeah,
you. You're fucking struggling, dude. What the fuck are you doing? Like he didn't say
yeah.
that. Obviously, Steph Curry's not gonna
And
say that, but like still, like
and
it.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but that's also a huge part of it too, is the incident between Jordan and Draymond.
Mhm.
Like I'm sure these guys are both like they're in the moment, they're in the, like we have a playoff series to win, but at the same time, you can't think that Jordan Poole at what 22 years old that he's forgotten about being punched in the face in practice.
Yeah,
Like he's not moved on from that. Like this isn't like Michael Jordan and Steve Kerr when they were both like veterans in the league and like, like it was just
and
all
not
right,
not
well
not
fuck it.
just not just punch, bro. Bro got put to sleep.
And it was put, and see, that's the thing too. The Steve Kerr MJ story was a story. You had to either be there or they had to tell you, or somebody who was there had to tell you.
Or Steve Kerr
Jordan
came out
Poole,
at halftime with a black guy.
right. But still, like, they don't know what happened until it gets told, like, the story gets told of what happened. But the Jordan Poole thing was all over the internet. Like, everybody was posting it all over the place. Their
Yeah.
moms got involved. Like, it was like a big thing. So, this is like now his reputation, the idea of him having to still sit there and listen to Draymond and take advice from Draymond as a younger guy, like people forget he's been in the league for what 3 4 years now,
Hmm.
but he's still a younger dude. Like he don't want to listen to Draymond.
Yeah, and Stephen A. said this, and when like once you see all of this stuff, and it's like you don't condone violence, but you kind of see what pushed Draymond to that point. Obviously, nothing. You should never hit somebody. When words are involved, and not that deep, unless you put your hands on me, I ain't touching you, type shit. But like, you can kind of see what kind of pushed Draymond over, because like even for Draymond, that is. I mean, that's crazy to say because he fucking stumped on somebody's fucking ribcage. But like, he that's not him. You know what I mean? That's not him. He's
Yeah.
a he's more verbal. When like a player punches someone, like just straight up walks up, GTA just fucking knocks somebody on his ass. Like there's it's to a point where like words can't express my fucking anger and
Hmm.
just fucking punch somebody. So yeah, they definitely have a decision with that. Draymond has a player option. Um, so that I mean I don't think he's declining any money, but then again, this is Draymond Green who works for TNT, who has his own podcast, who doesn't,
Yeah.
he's going to get that money back in other ways. Um,
Yeah.
Converse, he has a deal with Converse, like you know what I mean. If he takes less to go somewhere else, I doubt it. I do like I want to get back to where like we have like NBA lifers where they one team their entire career. You know what I mean? Rather
Yeah.
than ring hunting, you know, going to
And
places, felling.
and not only that, I feel like Draymond's not the type of guy who can do that.
Yeah.
Like, if you think about it, for Draymond's entire career, not just in the NBA, but even back in Michigan State, like he played for one of the best college coaches in the country,
Mm.
right? And Tom Izzo, who put together a system that Draymond was able to learn and follow and use that to become one of the best players on that team. Draymond is very much a system player. He either needs the system to work for him and his skill set, or he needs time to learn it. I feel like if Draymond was to, for whatever reason, go to another team, we would immediately see Draymond's value or stock drop dramatically.
Depending on the team.
There's not many teams that are in a position to do anything that Draymond could fit on and be impactful like immediately.
On
There's really not
yes,
a lot.
that's true. But like I feel like if say Draymond, there's been talk that Draymond wanted to like play for Detroit. You know what I mean? During at some point in his career, he's from Michigan, played in Michigan. He
Yeah.
at some point, like his value would be shown there not because of his play, but because of his leadership. And like if you're Detroit, you might sign Draymond just to like give the players, these young players, like a guy in the locker room who's been there
Mm-hmm.
to like guide their careers, like to put them in the
Yeah.
mindsets to do that stuff like that. So maybe that's the thing, but like ultimately, I do think he's going to end up back there.
But
So
see, but here's the problem with that. A lot of times when in that situation that you're talking about, it's probably better to come on as a coach, whether it's a player development coach or assistant coach or whatever,
because what
than to
he'd
come
be
on
coach
as
on
a
the floor,
player.
coach on the floor.
But that's the problem because like you said, his impact would be more in his voice than his play.
hmm I mean, like he's not going to
So
Detroit and he's going to average 20, but like a
no,
PJ
no,
Tucker in a way.
no, I get that. I get that. But the Sixers already had so much other stuff that all they were missing was a guy like a PJ Tucker. There's no team, there's not very many teams that have what the Sixers had that are just needing a guy like a PJ or a Draymond. Like that's the missing piece. Detroit needs a lot more than just a Draymond Green. Like they need a lot more than that.
Um,
So
See, I would argue that like, and obviously not for a championship, but like for a playoff berth, I don't think Detroit is that far away from the play-in situation. Because think about it,
yeah, but
Jalen
but
Durant.
that's the thing is Draymond going somewhere to be competing for a play-in spot? Like he might as well just stay
No, I
with the
literally,
Warriors.
I literally said I don't see him leaving, but like in a sense of him going there, obviously you sign there, you
Oh,
know,
okay.
you feel me, you know what you're getting into. You know what I mean? It's like the James Harden situation. Like, if you're going
Yeah,
back to Houston, you know that like, yo, they probably not gonna be on shit unless they start training all the young players. And you know what I mean? You're 35, so they're not really gonna start doing that shit for you. But like
exactly.
in a sense, like this might be the guy who kind of like when K got injured, and they shut him down. Jaden Ivey showed some light. They got James Wiseman's there. I mean, they had no beef. He just didn't work out. Um, like Jalen Duran, all these players, Isaiah Stewart, like all these players, Killian Hayes, that like kind of are individually talented. Draymond could be the one to
Hmm.
pull the reins and get them all together, and they could be like obviously their ceiling is still not that high for their ages, and you wouldn't expect it to be, but
Yeah,
like that could prolong put to really jumpstart something special and like to getting people to buy in. Like Draymond as a player, like there gets the respect. I think from like younger players, and I mean probably not Jordan Poole, but like from younger players because like he has adjusted his game the way his game is. He's a Hall of Famer off of being a role player. Like you know what I mean? Like he
yeah,
adapting his game, understanding who he is, and like a lot of players, like look at Houston. A lot of players don't understand who they are. Like they don't understand who they are.
yeah,
They just put on a jersey, they go out there and play, and who gives a fuck? Like if you have a
yeah,
guy there who's been there, who's seen it, and can get you all together and understand, like, yo, listen, no matter how many points you score, no matter how many assists you get, how many field goals you attempt, like the one thing that you need at the end of a game is a win. And like that guy could be, something that starts something in Detroit. And also they have another lottery pick. So like, you know, I don't know, but obviously I do see him going back to the Warriors. But he's definitely a player that could go to somewhere, some place like that, especially Detroit, who where he's from, Michigan, where he's from. I'm sorry.
It, it's just tough. Like that, the whole like that whole thing is one of those weird things that doesn't always work when the player is coming into to a team that's already together. Like the reason why Udonis Haslam works so well on
Because he's already
Miami is
there.
because he's been there for forever. Whereas like young players who are coming into the team is like, okay, this is UD. He's been here for forever. He's the
He
most
literally has
familiar with everything. He's the most
he has
familiar
every championship
with
in
the
Miami history.
city, the coach, the GM. Yep, exactly. So like I don't know. The Draymond thing is like you're coming into a team like they're already there. So the idea of you coming in and just like, all right, I'm gonna take charge now, and it's just like, I don't know if that goes over well with them. Even though they're younger guys, it's like Kay Cunningham's not just gonna be like, all right, let's all listen to Draymond. Like, I don't know. Again,
Mm.
it's a personality thing, but those types of situations tend to work better when the veteran guy has already been there.
I don't know, man. Them young team, them young kids, gritty, bro. Saw how Isaiah Stewart was going after LeBron. Very Draymond-esque. Very Draymond-esque. uh, but yeah, let's hop over to the winner side. The winner side, the Los Angeles Lakers are going to
Lakers.
the Western Conference Finals for the first time in front of an actual crowd since Kobe. So this is going to definitely be electric. And also, after we talk about the Lakers, we're going to get into the actual Western Conference Finals because they are set actually. Um, but for the Lakers, it was very much a showing of the other guys. Because Anthony Davis, like it felt like every other game,
Hmm.
it was like he plays great. He plays like a role player. He plays great. He's non-existent. He plays great. And
Yeah,
luckily for them, like they played 6 games, and on the sixth game, he was it was good. Like, and that what scares
exactly.
me. And that's we're gonna get into it, but that's the reason kind of have what I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say about them later. But Jared Vanderbilt, Malik Beasley didn't really play that much. Rui Hachimura this entire playoffs has been fucking amazing. Lonnie Walker literally
Yeah.
won them a game. Like it just seemed like
Yep.
everybody came together for this win. Came together for these wins, and I don't know. Like what do you think about these Lakers going to the Western Conference
I
Finals?
mean, that's kind of the story of the playoffs. It's usually like that. Like by the time you get to game 4 or 5, you realize like, all right, we can't just keep putting the same lineup out there. We can't keep putting in the same subs. We got to mix things up. Like this team that we're playing has already seen this maybe a few times in the regular season, 4 times now in the postseason. We got to change things up. We got to throw in a curveball, and for teams like the Sixers, it might be a Daniel House. For teams like the Lakers, it's a Lonnie Walker. Like just putting in somebody who's going to inject some energy, who's going to just be a different look that guys aren't accustomed to playing against. Like you don't know their tendencies, you don't know what they want to do, you don't know what they like, you don't know which way to guard them. Maybe they weren't even really on the scouting report. Like you have to mix things up, and I think the Lakers were in an interesting spot because a lot of their bench pieces are younger guys, so they're already like higher energy. And the Warriors have some young guys, but for the most part, like a lot of their key players are guys who have kind of been here for a while.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's not. I don't know if that's necessarily true. There are guys who have been here for a little while, but have sort of bounced around. Um, so I don't know. I mean, the Lakers are in an interesting spot because they sort of undid everything that they fucked up after winning the championship. Like, and their youth, the what little they had to get, a guy like a Russell Westbrook, and they've just kind of been trying to recover from that ever since. And now it seems like they've finally sort of turned the corner, and they've sort of regained that. spirit that they had in 2020 when they won the championship. And the interesting thing too is that we talked briefly before about the 2020 championship with the Lakers and like sort of the reason why they won the way that they won, with it being such a shortened season and having your two best players being guys who were one of them is older, the other one is pretty injury prone, and that shortened season gave them so much time to just kind of rest up, be physically ready. So by the time the bubble came, they were all good to go. There we go. I'm back.
Okay, okay, cool.
Can you
You
hear
were
me?
saying, yeah, I can hear you.
Keith, can you hear me?
Yeah, bro, I can hear you. You not hear me?
What?
I can hear you.
I know I cut out. You can hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. But yeah, but this the trade that they made or trades that they made during the deadline gave them back the youth that they were missing. So now they have that speed, they have that sort of quickness and the energy that they just haven't had ever since they won the championship. Um, and now I think it's hard to judge because there was a trade deadline move. So we haven't seen this Lakers team a whole lot this season, like the current form that it's in now. But you can obviously argue that if they had been like this for the entire year, they probably would have been a much higher seed.
Yes. 100%. They definitely changed their entire team. And like when you do things like that, when it's younger guys especially, it's very weird because you don't know the outcome versus like if you trade for veterans where like you know what you're going to get for them. Rui Hachimura was definitely a shot in the dark, only really trading Kendrick Nunn, and he's been literally at points your third best player in the
Hmm.
playoffs. One thing I will say, one player that has to be mentioned, um, Austin fucking Reeves deserves.
Yeah.
Listen, Lakers, you found this guy. Do not let this motherfucker walk. Pay him.
Yeah.
Pay him, bro. Don't fuck around. Don't do nothing, bro. Pay that man. Pay that man.
Austin Reeves is literally the Lakers Tyrese Maxey.
Literally, bro. Literally, Austin Reeves is what Jordan Poole was supposed to be in this playoffs. Let's keep it a
I
buck.
mean, I mean,
Come on.
yeah,
Come on,
kinda.
bro. And it's like it seems like every team has a player
I
like
can't argue that.
every team has a player like this. You know what I mean? Like n- not really one of a superstar, but like can light you the fuck up. Like it seems like a lot of the teams
Yeah.
have that, and like the Final Four, all of them have somewhat of that guy. Some better than others, but like they all have some form of that guy. Fucking Boston has two of them, so it's like it. You know what I mean? It just seems that
Yeah.
way. Um,
Boston has a few of them.
they have a fucking few of them. Yeah,
They have
yeah.
a few. They have Malcolm Brogdon
We
coming off the bench.
yeah, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that shit. But yeah, Lakers. Yeah, Lakers win. Let's hop into the last series that has not been deemed with a victor, and that is the Boston Celtics.
But wait, but hold on. Before we get into that, I do want to say real quick, as a Lakers fan, regardless of the outcome of this postseason, not me. I'm not saying I'm a
Oh,
Lakers
just
fan,
Lakers fans in
but I'm
general.
saying right for Lakers fans in general, you have to be happy about what you're seeing right now, regardless of the outcome of this postseason.
Bro, you was not supposed to be here.
You just won a championship in 2020. What?
No, go ahead.
My bad. What'd you say?
No, you cut out for a little
No,
bit.
I
You
was
cut.
gonna say like Lakers fans, you have to be happy. Like you at the very least have some semblance of a future again.
Very much so. All right, to the next to Boston versus Philly. The only team, the only series that's still going from the second round. Um,
Yeah.
Game one.
Now wait. I want to say something because I don't know if this is going to be good luck or what. But the last podcast we did was right after a Sixers lost.
It
And we
was.
started our Sixers conversation just like this, where we were like, all right, let's talk about the Sixers Celtics.
Just talk about it, bro. Game one, we shocked the world.
James
Games,
Harden shocked the world
yeah,
specifically.
yeah. Game two, went as expected, as expected.
Yep.
Game three, we kind
Worse than
of,
expected.
yeah, we kind of wet the bed there. Game four and five, especially game four, we whooped their ass. We went to Boston and we whooped their ass.
Yeah. Beat him by what, 12?
Yeah, 12. We beat them more than that. Their scrubs came in and they made it more respectable, but they whooped their ass.
Yeah.
Like that game was decided. Um,
Yeah.
and then game five,
Close one.
game five, close one, barely got it, skin in our teeth. Go up 3-2. Game six, scores 83-81 for the fucking longest. literally,
Forever.
literally, they had to go get Tyrese Maxey, take points off the board, so Tyrese Maxey could shoot them again. Like,
And put it back at 83-81.
put it back at 83-81. It's crazy how they did that. Obviously, we lost. It's cool, whatever. But it's crazy how they could do that, but they couldn't take the goaltending that they put on that wasn't clearly not goaltending. They didn't take that off the board. Kind of crazy to me that they could do
Yeah.
that, but they couldn't do that. But like whatever. We lost. A loss is a loss. But it's just wild to me that you could literally go back some shit that happened 4 possessions ago and do that. But like, oh, it's what it is.
It
Especially,
it is what it is, but at the same time it's like, so during the broadcast, one of the things that, they go to their officiating expert like during the broadcast up in Secaucus, and he tells them like basically the breakdown of what the referees are seeing or what they're looking at, what they're thinking. And the word that there was a phrase that he used that I wasn't happy about. He said, "This is a correctable mistake." And I was like, every fucking call is correctable. Like, if you can do this for this call, you can do it for any call. There's no reason why a call can't be corrected. If you can literally go back and take points off the board for a possession, for a thing, something that happened 4 possessions ago, and have a different shooter come up to get those points back at the free throw line, there's no reason why you can't correct any other mistake. Like, this wasn't even one of those. This wasn't even something that had to be reviewed.
it
It's not like
was.
they needed to go back to the monitor and say like, "Oh wait, you know what? Actually, now I see it. Tyrese Maxey should be shooting free throws." Like, they didn't even need to do that. Like, every mistake is correctable. The problem is not everything is going to be reviewed, and that's on the NBA because they're trying so hard to make the game faster, less interruptions, less distractions. So because of that, you can't review as much. But then in the last few minutes of a game, everything is reviewable.
Sean, we like we said, we were stuck at 81 at 83. We end the game with 86 points.
Yeah,
Like that should tell you a lot.
yeah,
Jason Tatum, who couldn't buy a shot, magically became himself again. Hit two clutch threes, contested, one heavily contested, three in a corner that didn't look like it had a chance, and then it just nothing but net. And then another one where like Tyrese Maxey kind of leaves him open, and then has to come
yeah,
back over and make a play. And I was talking like bro, like that it was there. You were
yeah.
down 16. You came back just to fucking like not care. Like it just felt like it was like, oh, we're thinking about Eastern Conference Finals. Like it just felt like their head was in the stars and like they're thinking about the next thing without like taking care of business. Like they didn't take care of business. And that's what like
Well, it
frustrates.
felt.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say it felt like frustration
Yeah.
because out of nowhere we just stopped getting calls. But then also there were instances where you could tell James was maybe looking for a call
I hate that.
and he didn't get it. And it was like, okay, well, once that doesn't work the first time, stop doing it.
Hmm.
And it's like you can't at this point, the Celtics are fighting for their lives. They're not taking it easy. If they're out and they're moving, the refs are running with them. They're not stopping the thing like, oh, maybe we should have called like those late whistles only happen in situations where after the foul,
And the player
there's kind
doesn't
of like
make
a
the
lull.
basket. It kind
Yeah,
of
there's like this lull in the game where like things kind of slow down for a second and the refs have enough time to say, okay, some time has passed, but not enough shit has happened for me to not be able to blow this whistle right now.
yeah.
Whereas like in this game, this once James goes to the ground and he's looking up at the ref like, "Yo, what the fuck?" The Celtics are already have the ball and they're already like halfway down the other end. So the refs aren't thinking about, "Oh, James Harden's asking for a call. Maybe he got fouled. Maybe I should blow this whistle." Like all that shit is dead. Like it's gone. It's over now. The moment is gone. Get up and get back on defense. And then with Joel, same thing, frustration, like frustrated with not getting the ball, frustrated with James Harden having these like lapses in judgment, frustrated with guys' shots not falling. Like
Frustrated with Tobias Harris on plays that they've run for years, not being in the right
exactly.
position. You know what I mean?
Frustrated with Jason Tatum now all of a sudden coming alive and hitting two threes in a row before Doc calls timeout. Like, and it's what we've talked about it so many times before. The fucking body language. Like the body language looks terrible. Like James is sitting there on the floor still complaining about a call. Joel's got his head down. Like these are your two superstars. These are your two leaders, and
And
their
the
body
game
language
was
is
still
terrible.
in the balance though. It's like,
Exactly.
and that's what frustrated a lot of people, and that's what frustrated me to like me being fucking pissed. It's like, yo, get a stop, make a shot, get a stop, make a shot, and there's a fucking one possession game. Like there's literally like they're over, you're over there and they seeing this. They're seeing
Yeah.
this. You do that shit, that's blood in the fucking water for a shark. Like they see that shit. Let's run that shit up. Let's do this. Let's pass the ball around. Let's make them fucking
Exactly.
forget plays. Let's do this. Like muck shit up. And then you
And
literally
now
are giving them the game.
and now you get Jason Tatum, who again sees that shit, along with the fact that their season is on the line.
1000%.
At this point, they're in the same position as like the Heat. Where like the Heat were the 8th seed going against the 1 seed. We don't got shit to lose. We're not even supposed to win. For the Celtics, they're like, well, Jason Tatum's having a terrible game. We're down two. It's middle of the fourth quarter. Not even the middle, like towards the end of the fourth quarter. I think there was like 5 minutes left.
No, 3 minutes left, bro.
And
3 minutes.
yeah,
So
and they're like, all right, well, fuck it, whatever. And Jason Tatum just starts
think about that.
chucking up step back behind the
Think
back threes, and they're
think
just
about
like
it.
going in now.
He misses those shots. He misses those shots. They get rebounds. Sixers come down other side, get a basket. Or if
Yeah.
D'Anthony Mountain hits any of his wide open fucking threes, he
Yep.
is wide open for all 5 of his threes.
Yep.
All of them. Clank, 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 clank. If those are momentum shots. Those are the
Yeah.
momentum shots. Those are the shots that changes the game, and he couldn't buy none of them. Maxi,
And
oh, go ahead.
this is and part of the blame has to go on Doc as well, because why do you take George Niang out and put Melton in when Melton hasn't been hitting
You're right.
all night, whereas Niang just hit like
A
Niang
big
hit two
three,
three fourth
a
quarter.
big three to take
Right.
the lead.
Yeah. So like that's the thing that I hate about Doc's
They did start
substitutions and his rotations is he does it to mirror the other team. If
play.
the other team makes a substitution, he's like, okay, I'm putting this guy in because that guy's coming in. But it's like, bro, your guy is hot.
Mhm.
Just leave him in and let him ride it out until he's not hitting anymore. I
Now,
don't give a fuck what the other team is doing. We're up right now.
now, I do understand that point, and to play devil advocate just like a little bit, they were attacking Niang,
But
and
Niang was holding his own though.
he
That's the
was
thing. That
he
was one of the rare occasions where he was actually not doing terrible on
he,
defense.
he was holding his own, but they still were getting like good shots at the rim. It was just literally them missing. You know what I mean?
I'll take it.
Versus like
I'll take it.
D'Anthony Mountain, who like him and PJ Tucker are like on Jason Tatum, and they're like literally shutting him down. Like they were shutting him down to a point where you go, well, oh, here's Jason Tatum. He just hit a shot, put in D'Anthony Mountain. Whereas like I can understand it. Obviously, there's
In
there's
my
not.
opinion, the change you make isn't put in D'Anthony Melton. It's keep PJ Tucker on Jason Tatum.
Yeah, but they was getting switches.
That's the change you make.
They would switch. You know, the Sixers on the perimeter, they kind of switch everything.
Don't do
And
that. Go back to a zone, if anything. Like you've been switching back and forth between zone and man all series, and it's been working. Just throwing the different looks at them. That's usually when we get our runs. Is when you just switch it up. So it's like instead of switching the player, go to a zone.
yeah, and that was it was definitely demoralizing. Just like watching this shit and then going, here we go again. Here's the
Yeah.
collapse. Here's the fucking mental collapse that happens every year. And
Especially because that's a Boston thing. That's typically this year in these playoffs, late game collapses. That's been a Boston thing, not a Philly thing.
yeah,
We are the team that statistically throughout this season has actually done well in closing out close games. Boston
100%.
has done terrible. Boston has done terrible at closing out close games. So the fact that they were able to, and again, season on the line, you're down to end of the
Everything
fourth quarter.
desperation, bro. They was the more desperate
Yeah,
team,
like you're desperate as fuck. So like it makes sense that they were to just like start just fuck it. Like just balls to the wall. We just gonna muck it up.
and it worked for them,
Jason Jason just shoot it. Like whatever. And it worked.
and it worked.
But
But this is the whole
you know,
thing. For Game 7 tomorrow, when this is we're recording this the day before.
Saturday.
So yeah, Saturday. So when this comes out, it will be game day. Um, so technically today. They play at 3:30. This is going to be out way before 3:30. I think it's coming out like 9 o'clock. I think I normally schedule it early in the morning. Um,
Mhm.
there's a lot depending on both sides. On both sides of this, there's a lot on the line for Boston and for us. Um, for Boston, if they lose this game, Jaylen Brown starts to, you know, hey, I can get the bag. You know what I mean? I get the bag, and I can
Right.
really get the bag from anybody. I would prefer to stay here and get the bag, but there has been problems with him and Boston. There's been problems with him, just in the city. Like, you know what I mean? He feels like he's always second fiddle. And maybe he feels like he's, like, not to say Kyrie, but, like, in a sense where, like, he's in a winning situation, but he might want to go somewhere else where he is
Yeah.
the guy. And then on the other
Yeah.
side, the Sixers, whereas though James Harden's a free agent. There's talk about James Harden wanting to go back to Houston. You got George Yang, who's a free agent. And the deeper you get into the playoffs, the more people have eyes on people, the more they're willing
Yeah.
to pay people. Obviously, you got the Anthony Melton, all those people. They're on contracts for a little while. Tyrese Maxey's up for a contract this season. This
Yeah.
off season,
Extension.
but you're 9 times out of 10 going to give him because if push come to shove,
Oh yeah.
he's the guy that you build around for the
Yeah.
foreseeable future, or like one of your stepping stools in the foreseeable future. So
Yeah.
like, there's just a lot on the line for both teams, and like in 48 minutes could determine a lot for each side. And just let me know like how you know what I mean, how you feel about this shit.
I would say I think there's more on the line for the Sixers than the Celtics.
100%.
The Celtics at least were just in the finals last year. They have the same group. Um, I don't think they have any big free agents besides Jaylen Brown.
Who is not
Um,
even technically a free agent. He does have a contract for next
yeah,
year, but he could just want
right.
out. Like, he could want out.
Yeah, yeah. Because this is the last year, I think, or
Yes,
next year will be his last year.
next year will be his last year.
So he'll be up for an extension. So obviously, if he turns down an
But
extension,
you know
he
how
becomes a free
Boston,
agent.
but you know how Boston works, bro. Like, if they can't get you to sign a contract, they will
They
look to
trade you.
trade you. Yeah, we saw that
Yeah,
with
yeah,
not necessarily, but like Isaiah Thomas, where he got the injury, and then they were
yeah.
just like, all right, well, Kyrie, you know what I mean? Like, we've seen it
Yep.
time and time before. Like, listen, if you can't commit, then we gotta get something for you because we can't let you walk.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a situation that they come into. Definitely.
The the only thing that I think has a big um impact on Boston's offseason is the if they lose, the way that they lose. Because this for this series in particular, Jalen Brown has really kind of been the guy,
100%,
but
bro.
he does not shoot in the fourth quarter. He does not shoot at the end of games. And one of the things that the guys on TNT, Shaq, Charles and Kenny, one of the things that they brought up is that in the NBA, there's this tendency that you have a one and a two, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have the one, the guy who's basically the guy, and then the two, which is the guy who's the guy when one isn't being a one.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is when you get to late game situations, no matter what team you're on, no matter how old you are, no matter what the situation is, the general assumption is that the one is getting the ball. So for Boston, because Jason Tatum hasn't actually been very good in most of these games, especially early, and Jalen Brown has been carrying a lot of the scoring load for majority of the game, the fact that they've continuously gone to Jason Tatum at the end of these games and he for the most part hasn't delivered.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm Marcus Smart, I mean if I'm Jalen Brown, next season I'm thinking like, okay, I maybe don't want to leave, but I am the one now, right?
Right,
like
because it's
like
happened
we
in the
know that now,
finals.
right? Like I'm the one.
He did this in the finals where like Jalen Brown was there and
exactly.
Jason Tatum fade away, and a lot of Boston
Right.
fans they were like, "Yo, when Kevin Durant was up for grabs, we wouldn't mind saying Jason Tatum." Like you know what I mean, and it's
Right.
crazy to think because Jason Tatum is the face. Like he's you know what I mean, he's the face,
Exactly.
and it's like, well,
And
you see
for
what they're talking about. Like,
exactly. It's like if I'm Jalen Brown, I'm like, okay, we all know that I'm the one now, right? So if you come back and they're still like Jason Tatum's the face of this franchise, Jason Tatum is the one, you're the two, and the game, Jason probably getting the ball. It's like, bro, how much more do I have to show you that like I'm the guy? like how many more times do I have to show you this? So if I'm Jalen Brown, that's like the biggest impact. If they lose tomorrow and Jason Tatum has another terrible game and he does not manage to turn it on in the fourth quarter the way he did last game, if I'm Jalen Brown, that's my main case for either more money, a bigger role, or move me. Like that's it.
so, Sean, I have prepared myself for a loss. Like I
Okay.
have mentally started preparing myself for a loss. Um, just because I like it's been 6 years of this shit. Whereas
Yeah.
though you get your high horse, you think that you can, and you lose. And like
Yeah.
as it sucks because as a fan you want your team and I do want them to win, but like you have to like protect yourself in a way. Like when you're a diehard
Yeah.
fan, like you kind of have to protect yourself because like listen, like literally, like you've seen like at work, them losing or winning affects me a lot. Like my whole like
Oh yeah.
day, like my whole day would be fucked up if they lose, and it's crazy that to think that, but like
Not only you, but it affect like even when we have our huddles, like people are like go Sixers, go Eagles, go Phillies. Like it, Philly in general is like
yeah,
it affects us all.
yeah, and it's
like you can feel the vibe in the city,
yeah, and when
like after a big win or a big loss.
when you a diehard, bro, like you care, and when you go from your best players being fucking Henry Sims and Brandon Davies, fucking Alexis Fed and
Yeah.
fucking Luke Mabamute to having a MVP again, to seeing this
Tony
shit.
Roten,
Yeah, Tony Rodens, the Robert Covingtons, the T.J. McConnells, the fucking JaVale McGee's for a week. Like you know, like
Michael Carter Williams,
Michael Carter. Like
Nick Young.
when you see these players come and go, and like I fell victim to this when I first started, but like you fall. I fell in love with a team that was a 10-win team. Like I
Hmm.
saw like these players compete, knowing they were going to lose, but gave everything. Like I seen a 10-win team go out there and literally the Golden State Warriors, who have the best record in the NBA, had to have a Harrison Barnes three to escape a 10-win team. Like I seen this
Yeah.
shit, and when you finally get the pieces and you finally start growing and finally the talent is starting to come in, and you start to see this shit, year after year get better. The first year we made the playoffs, we were supposed to be like the seventh seed. We were end up being the third seed. Like, you know what I mean? Like when you
Yeah,
start to see the success, and the success ends the same way, it's like, dog,
every
like
single time.
every single time.
Not
It's,
only every time, but the same teams.
yeah, same
Like
teams in the
even if
same
we,
ways.
yeah, we've lost to Boston in the playoffs in the Joel Embiid era twice now. This
Yeah.
will be the third time. We've lost to Miami once. We beat Miami once, but we lost to Miami once. If we make it to the conference finals and we lose, that will be losing to Miami the second time in the Joel Embiid era. So like the fact that it's the same, even Toronto, we played Toronto in the Joel Embiid era twice. One
Hmm.
time we won, one time we lost on a four bounce shot that ended up killing our entire season. Like it's always the same. It's the same way or it's the same teams,
Yeah,
and that's what's the most
and
frustrating is
and
that if we lose to Boston, Boston will be the only team that we faced more than once in the playoffs that we have not beaten at least once.
this has definitely been the most competitive we've been against Boston by a lot, by more than one game. Because before we
Mm-hmm.
couldn't,
Yep.
we had in the two times we played Boston, we won once. So like, you know what I mean? We've
Yeah.
improved, yay. But like in the same in the same sense, but like, listen, I prepare myself for a loss just because, like, mental health wise, like, it just mentally fucks me up when we lose, especially in ways where like we should have had this done, like we should have went into game 6 with the desperation of we've never done this before, we've never seen this before, let's do this shit, let's play hard, let's limit turnovers, even on turnovers, let's get it back, like
Yeah.
just the mental of it's there. Like it's there. We're at home and
Yeah.
it's there. The opportunity to change your history is there and you just didn't take it. And
Yeah.
that's what like kind of drives us crazy where it's like it's not like y'all were going back like the Toronto shit. Like Toronto that shit hurt. But it was like
Yeah.
that shit could have gone either way. Like that like
Yeah.
every game was either a blowout or a very close game that could have went either way.
Yeah.
And when you come down to that last shot and bounces 4 times, and I die every time they show it. Like literally, even now I cringe when I see it. And you go, if that shit
Yeah.
don't fall, Toronto has to know that they're going to fucking lose. Like like the Sixers came back, Jimmy made some crazy plays, and we
Yeah.
definitely think that we would win that game. And literally,
Right. We would have had all the momentum going into overtime.
Fred VanVleet was like literally he's like he like they would talk about it with JJ like he y'all would probably won like y'all would have like because
Yeah.
they would have been so like drained
Mm-hmm.
that the Sixers were had just found that second gear and
Yeah.
they would have lost it. But listen, coulda woulda shoulda. This right now
I think the I think the thing that scares me the most about the Sixers, and I hate to say this as a fan, and I know most people don't want to say this, I feel like their best opportunity has passed. That that when that team with Joel, JJ, and Jimmy, that was literally the most complementary group that you could have, with the exception of Ben Simmons.
mm-hmm,
But to have Tobias Harris, Jimmy Butler, JJ Redick, Joel Embiid on the same team together, that was the most complementary group. If you took today's James Harden and not even James Harden, even if you took Maxey and put him on that team in place of Ben Simmons, we probably end up winning the championship,
100%.
like pretty easily.
Assuming
So
that everything happens the way it happened for the Toronto Raptors.
right, right. Well, no, not even. I mean, yeah, yeah, with the injuries.
Yeah,
I mean, even if just Clay goes down, I would still say we had a chance. Like that was literally one of the most talented teams that we've ever had. Like I'm talking about going back to like the 80s, like of guys in their prime, Jimmy Butler, Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris. The only person who you could say was past their prime was JJ Redick, and even then that barely mattered because JJ was just a shooter. So like the personalities, the toughness, it was all there, but we didn't have the coach.
yeah,
Now we have what some people might say is, the much better coach. But at the same time, the personalities aren't necessarily the same. Like having PJ is great, but James isn't Jimmy. Like
Mm-hmm.
Tyrese isn't JJ. Like none of these guys are gonna go and get in Joel's face. I mean, especially, James might, but not in the same way. You know what I mean? Like we've seen the clips, the Jimmy mic'd up, Joel, shoot the ball. Like that's why you shoot it. Like you know what I mean? Like we don't have much of that on this team right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I hate to say it, but Jimmy Butler might have been Joel Embiid's perfect teammate, and we let him
100%.
go. And everything that happened since, I keep going back to just like we really shouldn't have been in this position to begin with. Like we we really probably should have a championship by now.
For sure. Or like, and it sucks because like we're talking about it like the way the mood I have is like last game was game 7. Like that's how it felt to me.
Like it's over.
Yeah, like it's
Yeah,
over. Like that's how it felt to me. And I went to sleep and I woke up and I felt like I'm like, damn, dog, I don't, whatever. You know what I mean? And it's like, bro, we still is this still another game? And like
yeah,
that is like kind of mentally like like it's kind of fucking me up a little bit because like I feel like we're
yeah,
done, but it's like, oh shit, we play tomorrow. Like you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
and we have a
The
chance.
the only caveat is I do expect tomorrow to be a big game for Joel.
100%.
But
I,
with the exception of that, I mean, I don't know who else is gonna step up.
I wouldn't be surprised if Joel goes for 50.
Right. But would that matter? Because remember, we played Boston earlier in the season and Joel went for 50 and we lost.
I think it does matter because for Joel to get to 50, that means somebody else is hitting these shots and they are forced to guard him one on one.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think
Or or they're able to get either Robert Williams or Al Horford out of the game early. Because what's been fucking us up is this double big lineup.
mhm.
This double big
Where
lineup where
Al
they
Horford
start
guards
out
him and they have Robert Williams roaming. Yeah, that.
exactly. Exactly. That's what's been killing us. If we find a way to get one of them into foul trouble and get them out of the game, like if we can do that, I think that would change the tide for the entire series, regardless of whether Jason Tatum does well or not. Because either way, Tatum's not guarding Embiid. So even if Tatum goes off, if Embiid goes off, those points kind of cancel out. So if you can get rid of one of those guys, then that changes things completely.
Listen, in order for us to win this game, James Harden it's best worst best worst best best. We have a game 7. Worst, it's
Yeah,
in best and it's in Boston. Best, we've beaten
yeah,
Boston twice in their home. And
yeah,
it's like both teams only won at home once.
yeah. The only thing though, one of the things that besides the double big lineup, the thing that's also kind of scaring me,
Al
this
Horford?
is the first time where we're coming into a game where Jason Tatum has had a great fourth quarter in
Yeah.
the previous game. So does that momentum carry into the next game?
And you know what scares me? Like it just scares. I don't know what it scares. Why it scares me. Al Horford. Al Horford has
Oh
not hit a
yeah,
three, and it just seems like this is the game where
he's due
like
for one.
right. It
Yeah,
just seems like
yeah,
this is the game where like Al Horford goes for like fucking 30, and it's like fuck, dude. Marcus Smart was
yeah.
very big in Game 6. Very big in Game 6.
Hmm.
But this is the thing. We got a chance. Like that. Game 7 is still here. It's still on its
Yeah,
way, and we have it. This could be our best chance. This
yeah.
this
And in
this
the
is
past, the games, the series that we've done, that we played, that have gone to 7 games, they've been competitive game sevens. So I'm not worried about us getting blown out. But at the same time, what does it matter if you still end up losing?
for Joel Embiid. I'm gonna say this, and I guess we could wrap it up. For Joel Embiid. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm gonna say this, and then I'll say the next part. For Joel Embiid, this is the thing that can shut motherfuckers up. This could
Oh
be
yeah,
the
about the
game.
MVP thing. Yeah.
This is the game where you have to control that shit. This is the
Yep.
game where you have to be the best player on the floor. You have to be the best player by far. This is the legacy game. This
Yep.
is we can't have another thing with like Joel didn't get the ball. Joel can shoot the ball. Like no, Joel Embiid has to go for 40 plus. Like he has to.
Yep.
Like anything less and we win, I'll be fucking mind boggled. But like he
He
has
has to
to.
be. He has to be what he has to do what KD did to the Bucks
I mean, from
that year they
opening
won the
tip.
championship.
I mean, from opening tip, putting motherfuckers through the basket. Stop lingering at the 3 point line.
Yeah.
Like, unless you like fucking 5 for 5, then okay. If you want to attempt a three, go ahead. You're not. Stop fucking taking. Your first shot should never be a three. You're giving them what they
Yeah.
want. You're literally giving them what they want. And you haven't been a great 3 point shooter all year. Even for your standards, has not been good all
Yeah.
year. Like, I mean, this is the game where Joel Embiid says, "I'm fucking MVP. I'm the
Yeah.
guy." Like this is the game where like people look back, championship or not, they look back and they go, "Remember when Joel Embiid went off in that game 7? Game 7 in
Yeah.
Boston. They needed he went for some absurd number of points, and they needed every fucking point to win. Like this is the
Yeah.
game that like you look back from fucking 10 years from now, going, listen, Joel Embiid, that game was the reason we did this. This game was the
Yep.
reason this player wanted to come to us. This game, like this, the only game on, the only game on.
It's the only game on.
The
Yep.
world is watching you. You got you. I am fully expecting nothing less than 40. Nothing less.
Yeah.
Anything less is a failure, unless you win. But I don't think you win without that. You're in
Yeah.
an environment. You're against a team that has taken you out twice before. This, yo, like control the game.
And at
Um,
some point, you have to say enough is enough
fuck
because even
yes.
Embiid himself, when they asked like about the rivalry between the Celtics and the Sixers, he was like, "I don't think it's a rivalry. They've always beaten us." This is the point where you say, "Okay, enough is enough."
Listen, listen. A lot is riding on this, and listen, he got it. Like he,
Yeah.
this is the statement. This is the statement. In games like this, if you go out there and you show your ass, games like this makes players play harder, makes
Yep.
guys go harder for you because now it's like, oh shit, he just won us this game. We can't let him down no more. We can't. The rest of their way, we have to take this shit completely serious. And for the Sixers, they could need this. Like this is a game that like they can look back at and like this could have been the turning point for something
Yeah.
special. And it starts tomorrow. Technically today when this comes out, and I need it. I need him to just do it, man.
Because the one thing, and this kind of goes back, unfortunately, to the whole "can you play through a center" thing. And like obviously Jokic is a center, but he's a different kind of center, so
Hmm.
it looks different, and that's why a lot of people seem to think that Jokic is better than Embiid. But when you look at guys like Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard, like guys who have just carried teams in the playoffs, typically they've been perimeter players, like forwards or guards. And for Joel, this is the moment where it's like, bro, if you get a rebound, take that shit up the floor yourself.
Hmm.
Like we've seen games where Joel Embiid has gotten rebounds and brought the ball up himself, and it's worked out perfectly fine. He's capable of it. Like, yes, it's okay. It's important to have a game plan. It's important to go out and execute, but at the same time, at some point, you have to be like, all right, I'm him. Like, I'm the best player on the floor right now. What's the point of me passing it off just so I can run up and try and get position, and then they don't pass the ball? So it's like at some point you got to have that sort of takeover mentality where it's like I'm the best player on the floor right now. There's no reason for me to not shoot the ball when I get it. If I have one-on-one coverage, or even if I'm getting double, if I'm getting double by Al Horford and fucking I don't know, Marcus Smart, I'm probably still gonna try and shoot that ball. Like
Right.
I don't care. Like it's basically just one and a half guys guarding me right now. I'm still gonna try and score that ball, depending on where I am on the floor. If I'm close enough to the basket, I can still shoot over both of them.
And
So
the next guy, I'm asking to step up because I think
Tobias
Maxi
Harris.
Tobias fucking Harris.
Yep.
Tobias Harris has to have the input in this game. He can't go 2 points. He can't go fucking 10 points or fuck from like 3 15. Like he can't like Tobias. Listen, if there was any way to shut people up about your contract, it
Yeah.
is right now. It is this like this moment like for a lot of these guys, this is the opportunity that you unfortunately have been blessed with. This is an
Yeah.
unfortunate blessing for a lot of guys. Whereas though, show yourself, surprise yourself, like you know what I mean. Go
Yeah.
out there, give 110 because literally, win or go home. And though I have
Yeah.
prepared myself for a loss, we are very capable of winning. And
Absolutely.
this we need this. And on my next point that I was going to forget, I was about to forget, but like I just remembered. All NBA has came out. All defensive has came out, and all rookie has came out, and we still have our thing, our preseason our game when we
Oh
have
yes.
selected.
Yes.
So next episode, I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it back, and I'm gonna write down both of our teams. Um, and so like you don't have me. So we just go
Yeah.
off of that.
All the
Next,
awards are out. All the All NBA is out.
I, I
Everything
mean,
is out.
technically, we could do that before next episode because it probably won't be that long. It's literally us going through our shit and saying who the winner is.
Yeah.
So yeah, we probably could do that before. If anything, honestly, we could do it tomorrow because I think you're off. I get off like a little later. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, I'll just listen through it and write both of our teams down. But yeah, um, Sean,
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was another What are we on? 31?
this is 31.
31 episodes of the Untitled Hoops podcast. Thank you for rolling with us. Thank you for you know going on this journey with us. If you are one of the people that's been listening from the beginning, or if you are someone who maybe caught up a couple weeks ago or whatever, and you just went and listened to some of the other episodes. Thank you for following on this journey with us. If you're new, if this is your first time here, thank you for listening. Once again, make sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe, hit the notification bell if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on or listening on Google Podcasts or Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Add us to your favorites, follow us. Make sure to follow us on the socials as well: Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We're not on there a whole lot, but we are on there. It's a great way to reach out, communicate with us. If you have any ideas for topics or anything like that, we do take those into consideration. And then last but not least, make sure to go to the website if you want to see not just these episodes. You can listen or watch, but you can also see some of the older and other episodes of some of the other podcasts that we've had along the way. And you can check out the store, see some of the merch. I got some of that merch on right now. You see this cool Black Flag t-shirt. It's blackflagent.online. Black Flag merch, low life merch, everything. We're adding more stuff to the store. Not the push doc t-shirts. Those are coming off. Apparently, we can probably be sued for it. That's what
Probably.
a lawyer has told us. But yeah. We hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next week. No, no push doc. No push doc. No push doc.
Also,
No.
before we end, congratulations to Andre Iguodala who officially retires from the NBA.